Hi, John Kuzma from EndZoneBlog.com. I want to talk a little bit about Odell Beckham Jr. and Antonio Brown. I believe Odell Beckham Jr. and Antonio Brown quit on their teams late in the season. When the going gets tough, you look around and see what guys you can count on, the guys that are going to stay with you in the trenches and help you persevere through the rough times. And it's becoming overwhelmingly obvious that Odell Beckham Jr. and Antonio Brown are not those guys. Um, Antonio Brown, he skips a bunch of practices leading up to the game yesterday. Early yesterday, I saw a tweet that Antonio Brown wasn't going to play because of a knee injury, and I immediately thought to myself, Antonio Brown shut it down. It's not hard to see why this is all happening. Juju Smith-Schuster's emergence has taken some of the spotlight and some of the shine off Antonio Brown, and he doesn't like that. And then Juju Smith-Schuster had that fumble, which kind of doomed the Steelers' season. And Antonio Brown is thinking, hey, that ball should have came my way. Antonio Brown believes every pass should be coming his way, but you can't go about it like this. You can't quit when things go south. Instead, you're supposed to stick with it, hang in there, and show a little bit of character. But unfortunately, even though he's been the best wide receiver in the National Football League for the past 5 or 6 years, you have to question his heart sometimes. You have to question his love for the game. He's an exceptional talent. There's no taking that away from him. But to fold up on the Steelers and your teammates who ride for you the whole entire season, to me, that is just so unacceptable. You have to go back to your middle school, high school, college days. Remember when you played for the love of the game? It wasn't about uh, anything else but the fact that you got to go out there and play the sport that you grew up just loving and cherishing every step of the way. And then you get to the professional level, and it's drama, and it's politics, and it's money, and it's just so away from the game. And even though I love the NFL, I cover it 365 days a year. It's hard to see Antonio Brown act this way because you want your superstars to chin up through those tough times and show that you have a backbone. And unfortunately for AB, he goes AWOL earlier in training camp. Um, he's been consistently frustrated with his lack of targets and the fact that Juju Smith-Schuster is becoming more of a much more targeted player in that offense, and he's becoming more of an option for Ben Roethlisberger. So it's unfortunate. You'd like to see everybody get along and share the spotlight there in Pittsburgh, but Antonio Brown is frustrated. It's clear he doesn't want to be in Pittsburgh anymore. He's hinted at that earlier in the season. And I think now with him skipping the game and skipping all those practices, he's sending a message to the Steelers: get rid of me, ship me out. But we're already hearing it will cost the Steelers a ton of cap penalties if they do move on from him. But if he doesn't want to be there, it's hurting morale. And let's be honest, Ben Roethlisberger is the common denominator in all the Steelers' success. How many Super Bowls has Antonio Brown won? How many Super Bowls has Le'Veon Bell won? Ben Roethlisberger is the guy that is going above and beyond the call of duty. He's taken on so much pressure. That's why we're seeing Ben so frustrated with the media. And yeah, he's not handling it the right way, but the wheels are falling off for Ben Roethlisberger mentally because he's got to deal with Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Mike Tomlin's poor in-game decision making. All this is kind of adding up because Big Ben is showing up to every single practice. He's putting his health on the line. He's having to deal with all these headaches that are making the game miserable for him. And it's just unfortunate, and the public's kind of turning against Ben because all these media analysts are criticizing Ben for saying, I'm thinking about retiring, or criticizing some of his other players. But if you were in Ben Roethlisberger's situation, you had to deal with this nightmare of a situation. I promise you, you wouldn't be handling it that well either. When you also factor in all the hits that he has to take and how he's constantly banged up and dealing with bruises and injuries and things like that, to me, um, any person would be kind of breaking down in those circumstances. And then you have Antonio Brown checking out when the team needed to win that game. Um, they did. They still won, but unfortunately for them, uh, the Baltimore Ravens won, beat the Cleveland Browns, excuse me, got into the playoffs, and that was it for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But just unacceptable for Antonio Brown. Yeah, he can go somewhere else, but he's going to miss Ben Roethlisberger's downfield throwing ability. There's a reason Ben Roethlisberger has thrown for all those 400-yard games. It's because he can just flat out unload the football downfield, and Brown has benefited from that quite a bit. It's unfortunate that this whole situation has come to this. The Steelers are so talented, but the drama in that locker room is so incredibly toxic. And, Antonio Brown, man, you're too talented to go out like this, to quit on your teammates. Those are your boys, man. Yeah, everything isn't perfect. It's like family, everything is never going to be perfect, but you have to accept the fact that they were with you, blocking, running, doing everything they can to create opportunities for you. The defense, they were always doing everything they could to keep the Steelers in games, to just turn your back on all of them, and the coaching staff, not even them, the owners who pay you all that money to go out there and play at a high level. Antonio Brown, man, what are you doing? Do you love the game of football? If you love the game of football, you're going to strap up and go out there and put it all on the line every single game, win, lose, draw, whatever. So Antonio Brown, man, you got to clean that up. And then Odell Beckham Jr. Did Saquon Barkley shut it down? No, he didn't. He went out there and balled. That's why I wrote an article early in the season that the team should turn the leadership role from Odell Beckham Jr. over to Saquon Barkley, and this is why. Saquon Barkley will never quit on you. Saquon Barkley isn't going to have the sideline spats with, coaches, or walking out of the stadium, or punching a kicking net or anything like that. Saquon is a true football player. He doesn't care about the drama. All he wants to do is win games and become a great player. And it's hard to see Le'Veon Bell, Odell Beckham Jr., Antonio Brown, because the everyday fan who played when they were younger and doesn't get to play anymore, but still connects with football through watching it on TV. That's so detached from everything they've been taught their whole lives. They want to see their star athletes care about more than themselves, and unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where it's all about, me, myself, and I, and what everyone can do for me. And if I'm not getting my way, I'm going to have an outburst, or I'm going to quit on the team. And it's just disappointing to see. Unfortunately, that's a small portion of the players. Most guys go out there every single week, and they do everything they can to put their team in a position to win these games. So even though we're talking about Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham Jr., Le'Veon Bell, they are a small portion. I think the fans kind of blow that out of proportion too. They think, the NFL is a bunch of crybabies. Not really, man. Or they say the NFL is a bunch of guys who are jerks that are just troublemakers who get in, trouble with the law and things like that. That's also a minority. These guys that are drama queens, these guys that have the off the field issues, they're the few. The majority of these guys are good people, and you go back and you see what a lot of these players did during Thanksgiving and Christmas, as far as feeding, hundreds of families, or buying gifts, or with everything that happened in Los Angeles when the Rams took care of those people who went through a tragedy. I'm not going to get too much into it, but they are doing. There's a lot of players that are doing everything they can to give back to the community, and do everything they can to help out. So you can't let a few bad apples label the whole entire National Football League. But Antonio Brown, not a good look. Odell Beckham Jr., we know you shut it down too. You guys are supposed to be the best in the business. And when you go out there and you fold up because the pressure is too much, it just lets us know that you're a little bit weak up here. And what are you gonna do? You gonna bounce back and respond and show a little character next time you're in this situation, or are you gonna quit again on your team? Unfortunately, these guys seem to keep quitting, and it's not anybody I would want to build my team around. I hate saying that about Antonio Brown the most because of how talented he is, but he brought it on himself. I'm John Kuzma. That's all I have today. Check out endzoneblog.com. I appreciate it. I'm signing off.